You doing today? In case you're just new to this and coming in on me, my name is Justin Letheby. I am your trainer, speaker, and coach for real estate. I do all things tech, communication, lead generation, and really kind of things like leadership, which we all have. I know I will say this to anybody that will listen is John Maxwell tells us leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And we all have influence in our everyday lives. Hopefully, for us as real estate professionals, we have that for um, our clients, our customers, our colleagues, right, in our industry. So hopefully, we do have that. So we will have communications throughout that. Now, today, our live stream session is on the conversations of lead generation. I was literally just before we got on today listening to a a little video, and the video was talking about the prediction of the recessions, right? We can't seem to agree if we're in a recession or not in a recession. I tend to believe we are. I tend to believe we never know we're in a recession until we're well into it. And I think there's already signs of that going on. We're starting to see some of our businesses on the East and West Coast starting to show signs and signals of some of that stuff. So I think we are. But nonetheless, whether or not we are in a recession or not does not mean that lead generation is not important. It is literally our lifeline for our business. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those misconceptions slash myths that people have in us that why we do not lead generate, and then some challenges that I think we fight all day long for this, and hopefully some tips and tricks to do that. And then I got 4, maybe 5 lead gen solutions that I love. I think they are evergreen in nature. I think it does not matter which market it is in. These are always going to be tried and true solutions for us. But that's kind of where we're going with that today. So, again, welcome everybody. That is what we are here for now. Uh, so, with that, let's talk misconceptions. Let's talk about how we get past some of those challenges that we have in our lives that kind of put roadblocks in there. So, I think one of our biggest misconceptions of all time is that that we get taught, including this session here, we're going to get taught. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do all these lead gen solutions. Um, the first and foremost thing I'm going to tell you is there is not one perfect lead generation solution out there. There is no such thing as that. The other thing I will tell you is that uh, pick the ones that speak to you. Pick the lead generation or 2, maybe 3 lead generations that are out there that mean something to you. So it's what I always teach and call the bozo buckets. I believe there are essentially everything that I've ever gone to, as far as I've talked to big hitters, producers, rainmakers. They typically have what I call 3 bozo buckets. If you don't know bozo, Google it. You'll see what I'm talking about, bozo buckets. But 3 buckets that we have out there that will lead generation for you. And again, we're going to give you some ideas at the end, but pick those 3 that make sense to you. I think there are some essentials that you have out there. And just pick those, have those 3 identified at all time. But you don't need to have all these different solutions out there. You don't need to have 5, 6, 7, 8 different things. 1, it's too taxing. 2, um, it's hard to stay consistent with that. It's a hard challenge to manage if you are dancing along all the time with the same challenge all day long. So that's the first one. Second conception or challenge in here that we have is that lead generations will cost me money. Now, I won't lie. There are some forms that will. Absolutely 100% they will. But it's that time versus money conversation. If you don't have a lot of money, then you got all the time in the world. If you don't have time, then in theory, you should have money to help back some of those challenges up. but it should be one or the other. So don't worry if you don't have the money for it. There are a lot of more labor intensive, I guess, strategies that are out there that will make you a ton of money. So make sure that works for you. Now, the last misconception that we have in here that I think is a big one is really on us, right? We have the self doubt. Who wants to listen to me? No one wants to hear my advice. No one, it's called the um, imposter syndrome, right? We haven't done it long enough, maybe, or we just don't have enough confidence in ourselves to make it happen. I will tell you, um, self doubt's a real thing. I will tell you one way to get past self doubt at all times in the world is build that database. Every time, focus on that database because when someone comes out there and tells you, I don't want to work with them, I'm going to work with so and so, or I'm going to do this. It doesn't hurt as much as when you got someone, you got the next online. Okay, don't worry about it. I got to work with so and so. Anyways, it's not a big deal. So always, always try to build that database. That's the first thing that's going to help with some of those self doubts. Second, have some affirmations in your day. People want to hear from me. They want to talk to me. They believe in me, right? I believe in myself, probably most importantly, right? There are affirmations all day long we should be doing to make that work for us. So jump on those and say them every day, probably twice a day, once in the morning, once at night out there. Also, I will tell you, identify goals. Have those goals and say themselves, have them in front of you all day long. If those goals are bigger than your doubts, you're going to move past them. So jump on them, make those goals happen, move forward, get that business going that way. So that's your self doubts or your misconceptions. Now, there are many, many more. I'm just picking some of the three most common ones that I have seen throughout my time and how I help people pass them. But I also say there are some challenges that we have in our business. And I think the two biggest challenges, and they kind of tie off of one another, is persistence and consistency, right? Sometimes we just don't do a lead generation strategy long enough to find out if it's making us any money. So, what do I mean by that? Well, there's some old cartoons out there. You'll see two people in a slide right above each other, up above and below each other, that are mining for gold. And one gets two shovels away and give up because it's done. I'm too tired. It's whatever. And then the next one you'll see in there, they take those last two swings, those last two shovels, whatever it may be, and they hit gold, they hit their fortune, and it's good to go, right? So sometimes being persistent you have to do it. So that's why finding the right lead generation strategy for yourself is so crucially important. And again, if you ever want to talk to me about that, I'm happy to set up coaching sessions with you and help move those forward because I do think it matters. Lead generation can be a lot of fun. It can also be a lot of tiresome, exhausting effort. So finding those strategies that are engaging, energizing to you are crucially important for this business. So persistence is one of the biggest ones, and I hopefully just gave you a little couple tips for that. Now, the last one in here is consistency. One of the things that I tell people all the time is I do not care, and I truly, truly mean this. I do not care which lead generation strategy you use. They all work. And I do promise you, they all work. But the one thing I will tell you with this, none of them will work. The perfect one will not work if you are not consistent about it. If you are not consistently doing it every day, every week, every month, every year, it's not going to work. It's just not. I don't care how clean and perfect the systems are. I don't care how great your scripts are. I don't care about any of that. If you do not have what it takes to stay consistent, you're going to have inconsistent results. If you have results at all, to be completely honest with you. So work on that consistency. And again, the example I always give to people that I don't really care which lead generation strategy you use. We just got done. We're in middle of the year right now, but every tax season, you will see a person dressed out on the sidewalk with the Statue of Liberty costume on, and you will see them pointing to a tax rep, right? I think it's Liberty Taxes. I think it's what it is. I don't remember exactly who it is. That's not important. But you'll see that outfit. They do it because it works, right? Is it the most effective? I don't know. It works for them. Now, so go through and do this. Make sure you are doing this consistently in your efforts. It will change your business. It will change your model. So remember, we have the misconceptions out there. Uh, we're doing too many different lead generation strategies. It's going to cost us money, and we just don't believe in ourselves. Those are some of the biggest ones. Challenges, persistence, and consistency, I think, are some of the biggest ones. So now that we have that, let's talk about. Let me change that. Let's talk about some lead generation strategies. So I've got in here on the list that I wrote down earlier today, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 strategies. Again, I would say there's dozens, if not hundreds, of different lead generation strategies out there. So pick the ones you like, find in here, go to YouTube, go wherever you want, watch some of the other videos that I have, because I've got a lot of different lead generation strategies out there that I help people grow and do with. I'm always testing new things. I do love the chase. To me, the chase in real estate is some fun stuff. Some of the other stuff I not necessarily was great with, but it's fun. So one of the first one is door knocking and mailers. You're trying to take over a subdivision, maybe your subdivision, maybe your area of expertise. You're trying to be in there. Taking on those door knockers and mailers work wonders. It's really easy. And it's really kind of easy to identify, right? So if I am here and I'm trying to do a door knocking or mailer set, again, mailer's going to cost you money. That's why door knocking, if you're financially a little strapped, door knocking is actually not a bad strategy for this. But when you're here, you can go in to the MLS and identify your local MLS. You can go in there and you can identify an ideal market, right? So one of the things that I have done in the past, and again, I've got videos in my area on my channel to show you this, but one of the things you can do in the system in here in your MLS is you could draw a boundary map around your area that you're trying to focus on, or maybe it's even a searchable category you can search on, a school district, whatever. And then I can filter out and I can show my results, and I can show it based on if there's an agent that's dominating that area. Not that you can't work in those areas if you are trying to work in an area that is dominated by one, just know that it's going to take a lot more effort and probably a lot more finances to become a consistent source of business. But the other thing that you can do in there is you can do some research. So I love the door knocking and mailers because one of the things I always love to do is give an item of value to my customers that are in those areas. So everybody always wants to know in a door knocking and in a mailer situation, what's going on in my area? What's my home's worth, right? My favorite question of all times that I ever hear from anybody in an area is, so what did my buddy's home sell for down the block, right? Are they really asking what my buddy's home is? No, they're asking what their home is worth. They just want to know what's going on in the area. So in my mailers, in my door knocking, I will have an item of value, and it will be the area stats, right? Top homes sold, top new listings, market time, average price, things like that in the area. Always abide by your local area's rules and licensing laws, right? Some areas, especially if you're door knocking, you have to get a door knocking permit or a solicitation permit. You may have to do that. Always talk with your office. Make sure you know those rules. Every area is different, and I couldn't tell you even begin to know which ones are which. So that's mailers. Now you got your SOI, COI, however you like to call it, your sphere of influence, your center of influence. I like to call it your know, like, trust group. This group is the people that know, like, trust you. They want to see you be successful in your business. These are the ones that are probably already have worked with you in the past, hopefully. Sorry, folks. Um, have worked with you in the past. These are also folks that are they're your biggest advocates, right? These are the ones that want to help you. So these are the ones you're going to nurture. You're going to, if you follow the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, you're going to talk to them at least 33 times a year. It's going to be an email, a phone call, letters, whatever it is. You're going to be out there. Again, one of my best things I can tell you is when you're reaching out to the sphere of influence, I love the process of just asking Ford questions, FORD, family, occupation, recreations, and dreams. Some people will call it Form M for motivators. Both are basically the same thing. But if you can answer those questions, you're going to help them, right? Again, always come back with the item of value. There's a very good book. I probably said it a couple of times already by Dr. Robert Cialdini that says the rule of reciprocity, which essentially says people are going to try to return the value they receive, which essentially just is this. If I help them attain their goals, they're going to help me attain mine, right? So if I can find out what their dreams or motivations, what they are, and I can help them get there, like if I have somebody and I know a way of helping them, I can reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, did you talk to so and so? Here's a great person. You can reach out to them, right? Or you're looking for this, or hey, I got a good carpenter to help you fix that in your house. Whatever it is, we can help them do that, right? So you have that there. So we have that as well. Now, uh, that's your SOI. So your SI will do that as well. Now, the next group is I love targeting renters. In my MLS, I can find renters in there. Now, am I looking for renters? No, I'm looking for buyers because renters hopefully will become our buyers. But at the worst situation in the world, when I am working and trying to locate renters to be a buyer, if they decide they're not ready yet, I can still find them a rental, right? And rentals are usually quicker. They're usually quicker transactions. So those are easy to work with as well, right? So moving forward and getting those renters in place. Now, for targeting renters, it's really not too bad. Again, your MLS, you can look, you can see when it was rented. Always look 10 months, not 12 months, because of the rules of the road, right? The rules of the road, most areas, most contracts, at least in my experience, anyways. I guess I can't say most as all, but in my experience, I always look 10 months back because they have to notify their clients 30 days ahead of time, at least if they're planning on staying. 60 days is when they're starting to talk about it. So I'd like to be in that time frame. Some people, when they target renters, will go even further back because renters sometimes are renters for reasons. They're not financially or fiscally able to do it at this particular moment, which essentially means maybe they don't got enough savings or they got to do some credit fixing, and you can help them with that. The other reason I love renters is one of my biggest set of clientele that I have, my SOIs, is I've got the change my life clientele, right? The people that I have gotten them to situations I didn't think were possible. Renters who thought they were going to be eternal renters, and I helped them find homes they could buy. Love me for life, right? They have these things out there, and um, and I love them too, right? It was a great relationship. We got to go and help achieve goals for each other. So those are great folks. Um, Mortgage ones is another one. I always help people I work with a mortgage person, try to help them move through and come out and target people that need to reduce their rate. That they had a high rate early on because they didn't have good credit history, and now they've actually proven they got a good history and their credit's better, so they can take more off. They can do things like that. Refinance, always helpful. I got two more. So next one is internet lead generation. So we've talked about door knocking, sphere of influence, targeting renters. Now we got our internet lead generation. Now internet lead generation was my funnest way back in the day. It's still probably one of my funnest, but it's an ever evolving and dancing creature. But internet lead generation is one where I was generating about 10 leads a week way back in the day. And I loved it because it was a game of essentially chase. You had to learn how to use social media, Facebook, Twitter, in my example these days, YouTube, and figure out how it's going to lead generate for you and how it's going to grow your business, how it's going to grow your clientele and bring them in. But some of the nice things about internet lead generation is there's tools out there, your CRM tools, things like that, that will automate some of this process, right? You got a listing, you can market on social media. But also with social media, it's about building the relationship. There's a very good book by Gary Vaynerchuk that says essentially you have to give before you ask. And it's about an 80-20 rule, right? You got to give about 80% before you ask for the 20% of the time. So when you're looking at the internet and generation and you're doing social media posts and you're doing blogs or vlogs or whatever it is, it's got to be about the give first. And when you do that, again, the rule of reciprocity, they get so much value from you, they're going to want to give back. They're going to want to sign up for you. They're going to use you. They're going to refer to you. But you have to give first. So find those items of value. Right now, it's never been easier in life to find ways to put social media posts out there easily, quickly. I know a lot of times we figure out and we think like we don't know anything to say or anything to write or anything to do. With some AI tools like ChatGPT, Bard, Google Bard, Canva's got some really good stuff in there now. There's a plethora of these tools out there. You can actually build that list right now quickly and easily, and you could just build post after post after post and have them available for you at will. So internet lead generation is easy. If you're going to do those things, always make sure you do have ways for them to reach out to you, ways to contact you. Always make sure you have items of value to give to them at all times, as well as know your local state and ordinance rules for marketing in that regards, because every area is a little different on that, and they will want you to know how to market and how you have to identify everything you do in your marketing. Last but not least, networking. I think networking is probably one of the easiest ways to lead generate today. There are networking groups all over the place, Zoom versions, online, in person, hybrid, they're all over. And when you're there, you get to build these relationships with people that also are looking to build relationships, right? It's an ongoing thing. Now, that's how I'm determining networking, but there's other ways to look at networking, right? You go to a social event, you're networking. You go to um, a grand opening, an open house of something. It's a networking, right? So you can look at this more uh, more loosely than I do, but I love going to quote unquote networking events because you get to go there, you get to meet people, you get to then again ask those forward questions, you get to find out how they are, how you can help them, and how you can introduce them to someone else. And then you get to trade information. Now, here's the one trick I'm going to tell you folks. I actually have teachings on networking, but the one thing I'm going to tell you right now about networking is um, don't be the blackjack dealer business card person. You get a card, you get a card, you get a card, you get a card. Find a relationship, find out if you guys should be trading cards, yes or no, and then hand those cards over. Give them a value, introduce them, give them a reason to have those cards. Now, it can be a paper or digital. It really doesn't matter to me how you do it. I do most of mine through digital because I get to collect their information at the same time, but it's there, right? So you have that. So, SOI, door knocking, internet lead generation, renters, and networking. Those are the ways that I think you should be working on right now. Pick one, two, at max three of them. I'll be honest with you. I mentioned the bozo buckets at the very, very beginning. I do think at all times SOI should be your easiest because that's the know, like, trust. That's the easiest converting group we have statistically speaking. Then I would recommend picking one of these other ones that speak to you, that energize you, that move you forward for your business. And then last but not least, find the next one where the trends are going, right? When I first started real estate, the trend for me was to learn how to do short sale business. Um, Afterwards, I had to learn how to be an internet lead generation person because the distressed properties are starting to slow up, and I had to find new business. So I've always determined where the next thing is. Right now, it's sellers, folks. If you can find sellers, go for them and do it. But eventually, it's going to be buyers, right? So always know what that is. All right. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time and your effort in here. Again, believe in yourself. Figure out which way it is. Are you going to spend money or spend time? Also, make sure you know which strategies you want to use. And please be consistent and very persistent about this lead generation strategy. And with all that being said, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you like these, please hit the like button. It helps me out a ton. In either platform, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you find me, I'm at all the platforms. These are in podcast form as well. If you are a podcast, you listen to me via podcast, you can always come every Friday at 1 and listen to it here. Always happy to have you guys here on board. The more the merrier. And until next Friday, good luck with your business, folks. See you then.